Good morning, everybody. I'm Bowen from Give Us Social Coding. And today we're going to have somewhat of a show and tell of BrightID with Adam Stallard, who is here, and is going to tell us about the project. But really quick, before that, I just kind of wanted to give everybody sort of a chance to introduce themselves. So, Adam, why don't you start us off?
Sure. I'm Adam Stallard. I work on BrightID, and yeah, just something about myself, because we'll have plenty of time to talk about BrightID later. But yeah, I'm a software developer. I live in the Seattle area, and I got really interested in decentralized governance and also universal basic income, and how universal basic income could be implemented using some of these decentralized technologies, and not just done with governments, because I think governments move too slowly sometimes, and so we need to be experimenting all the time. And so that led me to the problem which BrightID solves. And so I've been working on that for since 2017 is when I really started. Late 2017, I really started thinking about the problem of unique identity, and realized that it was a crucial piece to any sort of universal distribution. And so I kind of met people from different communities. There was a deck stack community, which was really active back at that time. I met a lot of cool people. Found out about Giveth. I think I found out about it actually from a random Google search, and thought what they were doing with liquid democracy was pretty amazing. And met Arthur from there, and he encouraged me to get involved with the fledgling social coding circle. And so we talked about some different projects, and I was a little shy to talk about BrightID, but he encouraged me to open up and tell the group about that. So met some really cool people on there that ended up working with me on BrightID, and last August got a Nest grant from Aragon to work on BrightID some more. So it's just been great, the people that have flocked to it, and yeah, this is my passion right now. So I'm really happy to be working on that. Yeah, I'm talking way too long for an intro, but I'll let some other people. So who wants to go next? I'm not going to pick someone. So
how about you, Stallard?
Sure. I'm a BrightID advocate, and I've been doing research and reading lots of stuff about this decentralized world. And first I started on financial projects. I was more interested in the financial aspect of it. But recently I've been reading and doing research on like great potentialities behind like identity systems, or these autonomous organizations. I think they are great, which is a kind of it is being done in Giveth, like a liquid democracy. I think something similar is happening in DAOs too. I don't want to talk a lot, and I'm based international, which is I'm going to focus on that, and then I'll give it to Danny or Chris. Danny, I think.
Thank you. I love hearing about all the wonderful things that are coming out of the Seattle area, including you, Adam, in this project. I spent 15 years over there, and I worked in bioregional relationships, which really connected me in with the Cascadia movement. And my professional career was project management for IT. I worked for a lot of major mega corporations doing international networking systems and infrastructure. But being in Cascadia connected me back to nature in a way that I had forgotten about. That was really important to me. And so I started doing permaculture education and building communities of place around event production. So holding festivals and events and dances where people did something good for the earth. And through my experience with IT networking and experience producing events on the ground that are very earth-centered, I drew a lot of connections on things that we need for healthy community building on the ground and good distribution and use of our energy in all of its forms, physical and immaterial. And that brought me back into tech again in the form of the blockchain and all of these amazing projects. Because trust and reputation when you travel from community to community are paramount. The skills and experience that you bring are part of your unique footprint, and finding ways to bring those people together in healthy ways and record those exchanges so that we can store our value and use it wisely is what I'm passionate about. I found Giveth a year ago and have been really excited to see that I get to play in this space of matching these projects and people who are making great social impact both on the ground and in the virtual world with the various forms of energy that they need to collaborate and grow together. And I'm really excited. BrightID was one of the first projects I got to onboard onto Giveth. That's part of my role there. And I love watching the Telegram group and seeing people get excited and involved. And I'm excited to hear how the project's going right now. So names look funny when I look here on Jitsi. There's like somebody and there's me. So who would like to go next?
I think Chris is up.
Yeah, I can go, no
Okay.
problem. Hey, I'm Chris, and I work on communications for Giveth, and I'll just keep it short so that we can focus on BrightID. So I give it to Philip.
You're muted. You have to unmute yourself.
So, right, thanks. Philip Silva, big fan of BrightID, big fan of Giveth. All you guys are awesome. Keep it up.
All right. How about you, Aaron?
Yeah, hey, I'm Aaron, community member over at Aragon for, well, quite a long time, since the beginning, actually. And yeah, I'm just really interested to see what's happening over here with BrightID and the social coding stuff.
Well, thank you. There are two other people here in channel. I don't know if you want to say hello before we get this started or not, but if you do, now would be the time. And how about we just get it started? All right, so I guess without further ado, Adam, tell us a little bit about how BrightID works.
Sure, yeah. I was hoping today that we could have an interactive demo. So we had a lot of fun with that at Ericon earlier this year. So if we can recreate that and connect with the people that we're not already connected to, I think that'll be fun. So let's take out our phones, and I've got my BrightID here on my phone. If you have, I think the easiest way to get the link to install it is to go to the website, which is brightid.org, and then you'll see links for either Apple or Android to install that. So let's get the people that don't have it yet to start installing that. And then for those of us that do have it, we're going to have a little bit of a chaotic party of scanning QR codes right now for those of us that have video capabilities. And so is there anyone here that's not connected to me yet? You can raise your hand. Are you sure, Chris? I thought you were connected to me, but let's do it again because it can't hurt to do it again. So let's do it again and show the people.
It's true. I'm connected to you. Sorry, but it
That's
works.
okay.
Okay, cool.
We can do it
I'm not
again.
connected. I'm not connected to anyone, but I haven't got another screen. So
Yeah,
that sucks.
that's a current limitation, but something that's in our roadmap, which I'll share with you guys later.
Cool.
But yeah, let's. So Chris, let's show them how it's done. I will put up. Let me try to get this in a way that it's easily visible. So I'm going to put up my QR code, and then go ahead and scan that.
Yes.
Okay. Oh wait, this is Stallard that just. Okay, you guys both did
I
it.
did that.
This is where the
And I
chaos.
want Chris.
Okay, so I'm seeing Chris right here, who I'm already connected. I'm going to confirm that connection, which means
Chris, can you make a connection to me?
Yeah. So why don't you and Stallard make a connection now?
Okay, so now I scan this code of Stallard. Hang on, Stallard. I'm gonna put you on the screen again. Yes. So now, if you show it, you should then the people see that you got my confirmation as well.
Let me see. Why don't I have confirmation?
You didn't see it confirm, Stallard?
No, maybe because I pressed back. Maybe.
Okay.
Let's do it again. Let me scan your code, Chris.
Sure. I already got you now, but I'll see if I can do it again. New connection. Okay, so this is my code.
Come on, get the code. Get the code. Can you come closer? Doesn't recognize. Does not recognize your code. Okay. I think it's the camera or something. I done. It's done.
Yeah.
And confirm connection.
Okay.
And unfortunately, these are all one-time use QR codes. So if someone else scans it to it, messes it up.
I see Danny holding up her code. I'm going to scan you. I don't know if I have you yet, Danny. I might, but I'm going to scan you.
And two at the same time.
Okay, I got Danny.
Done.
Yeah, but
right.
It's best to wait because if you do it at the same time, it doesn't work.
Great. I didn't already have you, Danny, so this is great. Okay, so now I'm up to 110 connections. It's pretty sweet.
Danny, want to put up another one for me? A little higher.
A little higher.
A little bit higher.
There we go.
A little too high.
I got it.
Yeah, can you put one up for me too?
I don't have Philip.
Stallard, of course you do.
Can you?
No,
I don't because I lost myself.
I tried to make a new one.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, keep putting up.
Got it. Thank you.
QR codes, Stallard, and people just keep scanning you.
Stallard, you can scan mine.
Yeah, Danny.
You got me, Danny.
Okay. Give me a.
We're gonna figure out a way to do this simultaneously. It's gonna be crazy.
Philip, I can't get you. Why is that? Your camera is not focused. Done.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then put one up, Stallard. I want to get you.
So
Sure.
Stallard is the first person to ever do a civil attack on me that I'm aware of.
Right. That's why you got to delete the other Stallard.
No, I just stole my cell phone.
So I'm going to delete the one that had a good score.
Yes, unfortunately, because his phone was stolen. So, and we don't have the recovery set up yet, but that's something that we're actively working on.
Right.
Okay, so now that we've made a bunch of connections, and feel free to keep making connections in the background with people you're not connected with, and interrupt me or talk in chat or whatever. That's fine.
Let's interrupt Adam.
Yes, feel free to interrupt me. I'm going to make a group. I'm going to try to show. Let's see if I can do. I should have done screen sharing with this laptop for my phone. I had it. I have it. Yeah, that would have actually made more sense than running a virtual phone, which is what I did. So let me see if I can actually share the screen here. I have something set up. Let me see. Where is that? Oh, there it is. The screen share. Smart view. Nearby screen mirroring and Chromecast devices will be shown. Okay. Anyways, I'm just gonna hold it up for now. I might get that working later, but this glare is not great. Let me stop that glare. If I go back to the home screen, and then I hit groups, then I can see some groups that I'm eligible to join, and I'm going to actually create a new group because I want to get these people that I just connected to in on it. So I'm going to pick the top two, the last two people that I just connected with, Stallard and Danny Bell, and I'm going to create a group. And so now the two of you, if you go to your groups, you should be able to see this new group that I created, and you should be able to join it.
Yeah,
co-founder. You see it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So go ahead and click the checkbox, both Stallard and Danny.
I did.
Okay, great. And then once Danny does, then it'll be a current group. Okay, great. So now we've got a current group. Nice. And so now some of you other people in here that are connected to us should be able to also see that group. So go under groups and see if you see eligible groups. See if you see our new group, which is Adam Stallard, Stallard, and Danny Bell. Does anyone see it?
I do.
Okay, Phil, do you want to show us your screen real quick?
Sure.
Show us what that looks like.
So there it is. And all I do is click on the little check mark on the side. And now I'm part of it.
Nice. Okay, so we've got people joining our group. And then so I'm going to look at this. I'm going to find this group that we just made. It's probably way at the bottom. I've got a ton of groups. Okay.
Philip, could we reconnect?
Yeah. Here's my group. So yeah, so I can see this group is already starting to grow. It's got the co-founders, Adam, Stallard, Danny Bell, and then you can see Philip joined and Bowen joined. And so people are joining our group. So what is the importance of joining these groups? Well, joining the group is actually how you get your score. And the score represents what the system thinks your likelihood is of being unique in the system. In other words, you don't exist more than once. Kind of like new Stallard and old Stallard, I guess you could say. So when we start deleting Stallard, the old Stallard, from his lost phone and removing him from groups and stuff, then let's say Stallard was trying to play a trick on us and said, "Oh guys, I lost my phone," and really he didn't, and he's, but the system, if we delete the old Stallard, then his score will go down. And if he's removed from the group, which we can also do, and he no longer gets a score. So you get the score from your highest scoring group is how it currently works. So those, who was it? I think it was Danny. You were complaining that your score was kind of low, or was that true? So let's look at your score now and see if by joining that group that's helped your score at all. What does your score look like now? If you go to the home screen.
Home screen. So I have 4 connections and my score is 9.15.
Okay, 9.15.
Me too.
I think this new group has a 9.15. Let's see, who do we have? Who else can we? Let's see, can we add anyone else to this group? Anyway, sometimes it helps to have more than one group, but so let's see. Stallard, are you connected to Philip?
Yeah, we were connected.
Yes, I am. Yes.
Okay. Why don't the two of you make a group and add someone else that's here to your group, and let's have a couple of different groups. Sometimes it helps just
let's have Philip
more interconnectivity.
Bowen.
Yeah.
I can't select Bowen. Why can't I? But okay, let's
you might need to reconnect with Bowen.
Chris.
I'm gonna create
I just did.
Bowen and Danny.
Okay, so did you create a group? Once you create it, show us your group. Okay.
It's
okay, nice.
not mirrored. It's just yeah. I have 2 groups waiting to be.
Oh, so you're
Danny
waiting on
hasn't
co-founders right
my
now.
group
Okay.
is-
Okay, now I see your new group. I see that I'm eligible. I see Stallard, Chris, Danny Bell as a group that I'm eligible to join. So I'm gonna click the checkbox on that, but that's my lowest group, and I'm gonna click the checkbox and join that one. And so now, yeah, every minute or so, the scores get updated based on the graph. Oh, I just see a whole bunch of new groups that I can join. So this is great. So yeah, you keep joining these groups, and the highest scoring one is the one that gives you your score. So we're gonna change this. Right now, it shows scores, but what we want to do is we want to have verifications instead of scores. And the reason why verifications are important is because the whole point of using this, I mean, this isn't just for like, you know, scanning people's phones and making connections and joining groups. There has to be a point to all this. And the point is that applications want to ensure that you are unique in their system. And so when you can get a good score, the application can say, okay, anyone with a score above this is verified to use our application. So what we actually want to do, because we found from user feedback that scores are kind of confusing. I mean, just as I've been watching, my scores jumped around from like 90 to 95 to it's still in the 90s, but it's been jumping around a lot just while we've had this call, just because the graph has been changing. So that confuses people, because sometimes your score can change even if you didn't do anything, or sometimes it changes in a way that doesn't match. So maybe I make a new connection with something and my score might go down, but it might have to do with something that happened on the other side of the world and not really with me. And so people get confused and they start reading too much into it and saying, oh, maybe I shouldn't have just made that connection, or I shouldn't have just joined that group. And so rather than showing these detailed scores, what we're going to do is we're going to show you which applications you qualify for. And those are verifications. And so this apps tab, there's a little apps tab down in the corner. But that little apps tab down there right now doesn't do anything. But in the version that in the development version, it does do something, which is it shows you which applications you've been verified for. And so if I go to Dollar for Everyone, which is an app that I'm working on, if I go to Dollar for Everyone and I click the link that says verify me with BrightID, it'll open up my BrightID. It'll open up an alert box that says, do you wish to connect your BrightID to Dollar for Everyone? And if I click yes, then Dollar for Everyone with its logo shows up in my apps list. So that's a new thing in the development version of BrightID. So that's where this is all headed, is being able to get verified by different applications, store the different applications that you've added to your registry in an easy to find place, and then be able to take advantage of those with BrightID and have those applications know that yes, you only exist once in the system. For instance, Dollar for Everyone, we want to give everyone just $1, and we want to give that to 10,000, the first 10,000 people who are verified with BrightID and want that $1. And maybe Philip can tell us some more, since that project was his brainchild. So if you're okay with that, Philip, would you like to tell us some more of what you had in mind with Dollar for Everyone?
Yeah. So what we want to use BrightID for is to show that anyone can have access to anything that any system wants to provide people in an equitable manner. one thing people understand is money. So we're going to try to give $1 to as many people as possible, and ideally every human on Earth. We don't have unlimited resources, but we have $10,000 committed to do this. To start off, we're going to give XDAI, and we're going to use basically Austin's burner wallet to do that, because it's such an easy way to onboard people that aren't in this crazy ecosystem yet. And the idea is that we'll learn a lot as we give away 10,000 of these, and by the time we've done that, we hope we have a compelling enough story to raise more money. So raise $100,000 and then give away $100,000, and now we've got an even better story. And we use that story to raise $1 million. And now we have a really compelling story. And we think that social media will get buzzing about this, and that maybe Ellen will invite us on her talk show to talk about it. And even like the New York Times will write about it. And then the money can maybe pour in. So you raise $10 million, you give out $10 million, you raise $100 million. And at that point, if you could actually give to 100 million people through a system like this, like you've crossed the chasm. It's on a roll, and who knows what it could do from there. I mean, imagine if you've just onboarded 100 million people sort of into Web 3.0 for a customer acquisition cost of $1 per person. So we'll see, but it's a pretty easy thing for people to wrap their head around. Like, oh, I just get my $1, and when you do it, I don't know if all of you guys have used the burner wallet. It's just so simple. It's one of those things where it just feels like magic, and someone doesn't have to be deep into crypto. They don't have to understand Ethereum or gas. They don't need a seed phrase. They don't need a private key. It just works. So that's the idea.
Yeah. Thank you. That was a wonderful description. And these are the sorts of things I'm really excited about, because I think that once people see, hey, I can give away $1, that just sparks their imagination to what else can I give away? Can I give away a recurring dividend to all of humanity? Can I give away shares in my company? And there's all kinds of potential there. Another thing that the BrightID is useful for is different types of governance, which is why Aragon is interested, which is why Giveth is interested. So any types of, if you're familiar with radical markets and radical exchange, being able to do quadratic voting, being able to do other types of voting that rely on knowing that each person that's participating has one account representing them. So this is another thing that BrightID is good for. I think at this point, because I don't have a much left to show, I think let's just open it up for questions and see what you guys want to know about.
Yeah, I have a question. Like, what is in the immediate future happening with BrightID? So, do you have like some apps that will be integrated in the near future, so that people can actually sense how powerful this is?
Yes, that's a great question. So, the $1 for everyone is the next closest one to being launched. We're going to get it up and running. My goal is to have $1 for everyone launched this month. So that's going to be the first one that you see. You'll be able to browse over to $1 for everyone, link it up with your BrightID, get your $1 in a wallet, send it around to people. So this will be a cool hands-on thing that you can use BrightID for. And then after that, I think what will happen is that all these other organizations that have been kind of waiting around I guess for an example of how do I do this, they'll be able to use the example of $1 for everyone and see how we did it, and then we'll be able to help guide them into integrating with their applications. And the applications that want to integrate with BrightID are really varied. You've got all kinds of uses for it, a lot of which we didn't really anticipate. But having a unique ID solution unlocks a lot of capabilities for a lot of different apps. So I'll be really interested to see this year and next year just who it is that that does the integration. But yeah, we're gonna sort of be available to walk companies through those early steps. The first ones, the first few apps will require a lot of hands-on work from us to get that working.
Are there any other questions?
Yes.
I do have a,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
that's
Sorry.
okay. So I'm looking in my groups, and I have the 4 that I was accepted into, and then under eligible, I see another group that says Philip and Adam. But whenever I click on it, it says I'm actually not eligible to join that group, and I get a failure message. Any idea why I would see it listed as eligible, but then get an ineligible error message?
I sent a screenshot of that to you in Riot, Adam.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Oh,
I think that there's
cool.
I think that there's one group in our system that got into a weird state somehow, and probably needs to be manually deleted, I guess. Yeah, that's a bug. We just need to. I think what we need to do is just detect that do a better job of detecting which groups you're actually eligible for. Yeah, this is beta, so.
Aaron, I believe you had a question.
Yeah. So how close are we to integrating BrightID into the Aragon ecosystem to provide unique identities to DAOs?
Yeah, good question. So the first thing that we needed to do, which was part of the NEST grant, was to create an Ethereum bridge. And so we did that. And so we have a smart contract that allows people to take their BrightID scores and or actually verifications is what we're using now. Take their BrightID verifications and upload them to the smart contract and associate them with an Ethereum account. So without even revealing your BrightID public key, you can using a BrightID node, you can associate an Ethereum address with all the verifications that you have currently in BrightID. So if you're verified to use Aragon, or you're verified to use Dollar for Everyone, or whatever the applications may be that are Ethereum-based applications, those can be in the smart contract. So that then when you're interacting with an application such as Aragon that uses Ethereum accounts to interact with, then you'll have your same set of verifications, and Aragon can read that out of the contract. So the pieces that are missing from that are the pieces are the pieces on the Aragon side that read from the smart contract, and also the a UI for uploading for making that connection with BrightID, but actually that part will be done soon. As far as the Aragon piece, we don't have a roadmap for that, but it's something they're interested in, and so I think once I don't know, maybe when it fits into their timeline, we'll finish that integration for them. There's I don't think there's much holding that back. Maybe finding an entry point for that in the Aragon application. I think originally we had planned to put it with Aragon ID, which was an Aragon app that was going to happen, which hasn't happened yet. But that would be an ideal integration point. So I think Aragon ID was also a way to have a profile. And so if part of your profile, you just have this proof from BrightID that says, I have these verifications, that then a DAO can look at and say, oh, okay, good. They're verified as unique in this DAO or something like that. So I think that's where it would show up, is in the BrightID, or sorry, the Aragon ID app. But yes, that Aragon ID app doesn't exist yet, and so that final piece of reading that out of the smart contracts also doesn't exist yet.
That's really cool. That's really, really cool. It looks like my connection's got really bad again, so I'm not sure if you can still hear me, but
Yeah, we can.
Yeah,
Hear
I can hear you just fine.
yeah. Oh, you can hear me. Oh, that's fantastic. So, Alltalk, they're working on I believe that they're working on something, maybe with a 3-box integration, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah. Are
Yeah,
you guys working closely with them?
Yeah, so I think that would be that I would imagine that 3box would integrate into the same place, into the Aragon ID app, so that if you wanted to have an ENS based profile, you could do that. And so it's just a nice way to see who's who on Aragon, and then the BrightID piece is being able to say, okay, this person only exists once, so they're verified to use this DAO, and they've only got one membership in this DAO. So that you avoid all the clever tricks of, look, I've got, I actually created a bunch of 3box identities, and I'm trying to link them all and do it in this underhanded way or something like that. So that's what BrightID protects against.
Yeah, I mean, because it's really to me, it's a fundamental part of, a lot of applications going forward, because, you need to be able to prove uniqueness for a lot of applications to even, take hold in the first place. So, I mean, it's just really like core piece of the infrastructure going forward, I believe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, we think so.
And we're hopeful that in a whole lot of applications, the only thing that you need to prove is uniqueness.
Right. So let's say that you wanted to use a DAO, but you didn't want to share your 3box profile. You didn't want to reveal all your socials, and you didn't want to reveal your name, even your name or photo. Let's say you wanted to remain pseudonymous and still use that DAO. That should be allowed, and so BrightID allows for that. So even the name and photo that you use on BrightID is not shared anywhere on blockchain. It's not shared with any servers. It's not shared publicly. It's just privately between the people that you connect to, as a kind of a way of keeping track of who's who, but only directly with the people you connect to.
Yeah, that's very, very
Adam,
cool. Very, very cool.
Another question, like, could you, I've known it at some point, but could you like explain briefly what like the differences between what you guys are doing and IDEN 3?
Yeah, so IDEN 3 is doing attestations, and they're doing some cool things. So it's a way to manage claims that you collect from just from different verifiers that can say, oh yes, this person lives here, or this person is this age, and they can also do it in a way that that uses zero knowledge proof, so that you only share that with the people who need to know, which is a key concern when you're using blockchains. You want to make sure that just because I want to share with you my age doesn't mean I want to share with the whole world what my age is. So being able to effectively manage those different pieces of data about yourself, I think that's what IDEN 3 is all about. And so that's a really important problem to solve too. And then BrightID's focus is unique identity, making sure that I only have one account in whatever system it is that I'm using, whatever DAO or whatever application.
We would suggest that attestation of uniqueness would be one of the attestations that something like IDEN 3 would like to be able to verify. Currently, there's nobody in the world that can verify that you exist once. The post office can say that you live a certain place, your college can say you graduated, but there's nobody that can say you have existence once. So we don't view it as sort of competition. We're just like one more attestation.
Right. And the thing is, so if you're talking about, some people think about, well, can I just use these different attestations, some combination of attestations to prove that I'm unique? And there's some challenges if you try to go that route, because everyone has to agree on the same subset. Otherwise, you can create multiple accounts by saying, okay, well, I'm going to create one account that uses this subset and one account that uses this subset. So everyone has to agree on what the subset of data is that is going to be used for uniqueness. And then you have concerns about how do you protect that in a way that doesn't expose more than people want to expose. And so there's challenges with that. And so the approach with BrightID is to have an anonymous graph and to look at the social connections, the group behavior, the individual connections, and use that rich data that's anonymous and analyze it and make determinations based on that. And so that's what we do. So yeah, it's an important piece of the whole puzzle, the whole identity puzzle.
And in the grand scheme, so while we have one way of analyzing the graph now, in the future, we hope that you guys and all of your friends will analyze it differently. We all agree on the thing that we're analyzing, but everyone can have their own slightly different methods of analysis. So anybody that proves to have a better form of analysis, and it's easy to sort of back check it and say, all right, 6 months later, who that you verified at the beginning is still verified later. All right, your analysis is better, and it can shift. So anytime anyone's got a better way of doing it, great. We welcome them to sort of compete to do it best.
Yeah. So one of the things that I want to share with you guys is our milestones, so that you can get a sense of where we're at right now. So I'm going to share my screen and just share this Google sheet where I've got our milestones. So we already talked about a little bit about which applications we're going to be integrating with, and a little bit about the timeline, although most of those don't have a set timeline other than $1 for everyone. But here are just some of we call these the core of BrightID. It's important to have this core that's constantly being improved. BrightID is an open source project, and there's this base layer that everyone gets to use and build upon. And the anonymous graph that's built is public for all applications to build on. And so we need to make sure that the core technology is maintained and is robust. And so that's what we're working on with core. So so the first thing that we're doing is the verification. So we're switching from displaying scores to displaying verifications, which are associated with different applications. So you can see, oh, okay, I'm verified to use this application. I've $1 for everyone. I'm verified to use any Aragon DAO. Maybe you could have an overarching Aragon verification. So those are that's verifications. This is something that hits close to home for Stallard because his phone was stolen, but being able to have a backup that's ready to go. So milestones 2 and 6 both have to do with that. Having your keys backed up with a trusted individual that you select, and then also having your connections and groups list backed up with a trusted individual, so that you can, after you've designated your friends ahead of time that are going to help you with that, you just reconnect with 2 of them, 2 of your designated friends, and then by them confirming that you're recreating your BrightID, you can then replace your lost and stolen keys and your lost data. So that's really important. The peer-to-peer is being built right now. So the ability to run more than one node. Right now, everything just happens on one node, and that's not our design. Our architecture is to have multiple nodes, and like Philip said, to have each node have the potential to run its own methods of verification. But each node will be communicating with the other nodes, sending these different connection operations to each other so that they can build the same graph and each have the same graph to operate on locally. So that happens with the peer-to-peer. Seed management is something that's an interesting topic. So when the whole world is tightly interconnected and we have, you know, everyone connected to everyone else with just a few degrees of separation, BrightID works really well. But how do we get there in such a way that it's still useful for kind of these different pockets that pop up around the world? And that's what seed management is. And several of the people in this call are actually members of seed groups. But we have to come up with ways, and we're still exploring this, but democracy DAOs could be used to help select the seed members. What a seed is basically saying, okay, this is a trusted group within a region or a community that that gets to be a locus where trust is disseminated. The verification method that we currently use is called Sybil Group Rank, and it's based loosely on Google PageRank, which has you start with seeds of trust, and then that gets disseminated out through the graph. And so being able to manage how that works through a democratic process and through different DAOs is important. So that's an area of research that we're working on. And then we're always keeping up on Sybil attacks and cataloging and modeling them. And that's actually how that scores and verifications happen, is that models of different Sybil attacks are injected into the graph, and then you see how they rank compared with known good users from previous iterations, and then you can say, okay, well, here's my threshold. I want to make sure that I'm keeping out these kinds of Sybil attacks out of my application, and different applications can set how permissive they are, because maybe there's an application that says, okay, well, with the current state of the graph, there's a bunch of people who aren't well connected yet, so rather than excluding them, we'll just be a little bit permissive, and at the risk of letting in Sybils, and maybe some other application says, no, we can't be permissive at all, at the risk of excluding people who actually are humans. And so this is something that applications decide. But what we do is we catalog those Sybil attacks and then show where the verification cutoffs would need to be. So these are all things that we're working on. There's a bunch of mobile UI improvements that are coming up. And the timeline is, let me see if I can scroll over. But basically, this is all stuff that's happening in the next 5 months. So yeah, this is where we're at with BrightID. I'm really excited for what's going to happen with the core. It'll be by the time 5 months from now, this is going to be a much improved system that we're using, and hopefully will be much easier to integrate with for all different kinds of applications. So I'm really excited to see who ends up using BrightID, all the cool things that people figure out that they can do with it. And yeah, this stuff is coming soon. So exciting times.
Nice.
Well, that's excellent. Does anybody else have any other questions for Adam?
I have one more.
Yeah, sorry, I go on.
Oh no, go ahead. I've already asked them. Go ahead.
No, so have I. So go on.
No, I just wanted to ask, because you were saying this is all that's happening in the next months, which it sounds fantastic. It's gonna be yeah, it's great to see. And I was just wondering, like, how do you get your funding right now? I don't know if you mentioned it, but like how are you supporting yourselves? How can you develop?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. Right now, because the core is so important, we need to make sure that whatever funding we get allows us to work on that core. So there are some grants or partnerships with partner apps who kind of have these stipulations to say, okay, well, it needs to support this particular application, or it needs to support this particular ecosystem and only this ecosystem. And so
so you got bought by Facebook. That's what you want to say.
What's that?
So you got bought by Facebook. That's what you want to say.
Yeah, that's what we want to avoid. And so But so to give the example of Aragon, the reason why the Aragon Nest grant was so cool is because they said, okay, we see that you have this solution that you want to build, just go build it. Yeah, there's going to be some Aragon integration, but you know, the timeline of that doesn't even have to be part of the Nest grant. Like, it doesn't have to be completely integrated. We just want you to build the thing you're building. So there's the potential for another Nest grant. We've also applied. There's kind of a new funding model that Aragon is launching, and we applied to that. Yeah, so there's still some potential with Aragon. We applied to MIT Solve. We applied to Panvala, which is a security Ethereum set of grants, and there's other ones that we're working on. Stallard is working on some other grant applications, and we're also interested in partnerships, as long as those partnerships are willing to allow us to work on the core. So if someone says, we just want you to integrate with our application, that's nice, but our team isn't big enough to do that yet until we have enough people working on core that we can say, okay, we've got our core team, and we've also got some extra developers that we can work on your integration. So we need to find partnerships that say, okay, well, I really want you to integrate with our application, but we're also going to help you keep building core. We're also going to pay for that. So those are the types of partnerships and grants that we're looking for. And we've applied to some. And yeah, if you know of any, just let us know. Or if you can put in a good word for us with any of the grants or partnerships, that's really nice.
Cool. Good to know.
All right, Aaron, I think you had one last question.
Yes. So it was more about the graph. So I mean, like, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it a little bit, but would it be possible for me to, or for an attacker to basically just set up, you know, a bunch of bots, put them all into a group, get a fantastic score, and then, you know, do a Sybil attack that way? I mean, I think you might have addressed it, but my connection's been cutting in and out, so I haven't been able to hear everything.
Okay. That's exactly what BrightID is meant to protect against. And so those types of Sybil attacks fall below the threshold of any verification. And so you wouldn't get verified for Aragon, you wouldn't get verified for Dollar for everyone, because that type of attack that you're describing, where you just create Sybils and connect them up in some way, is not going to. It's just gonna rank too low in the ranking system. So there's always kind of this. It's like this. It's like this ongoing. I don't want to use the word struggle, but it's this ongoing pattern of people connect, and where's the threshold that you bring in as many real people as you can, but keep out as many fake people as you can. The advantage that the real people have is they can do things to make their scores better, and much more easily than Sybils can. So for your Sybils to get a good score, you would have to find ways for them to infiltrate groups of honest people, which is very tricky to do. If you're a real person, that's going to be easier to do. If you're just randomly connecting your Sybils to themselves, you're gonna have terrible scores, terrible ranks. So there are social engineering attacks you can try to get your Sybils into groups. But yeah, that's those are tricky to pull off, especially as a culture grows up with BrightID, as it becomes more widely used and people understand it better. It becomes harder and harder to pull something like that off.
And the really short answer is, if you let's say you create 100 Sybils and you interconnect them all densely, right? So you've got this super dense pocket on the graph, but it only has a few scraggly little connections to real people that are not part of that fraud. And that goes to even if you get 5 real people that together make 100 Sybils. Again, those 5 real people are the only connections to the main graph. And our algorithms look at that pocket and say, that's weird. If you have 100 people, there shouldn't just be 5 connections to the main graph. There should be lots.
Got it.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So that's the point, is these Sybils themselves. So you as a real person that's creating the Sybils, you will have a pattern of connecting to the graph that is different than the pattern of your Sybils. And so that's how they're detected.
That said, if you went back to your office now and got all the people in your office to sign up for BrightID and all interconnect with each other, right now the algorithm would think that they were all Sybils, because the only connection to the rest of the graph is you. So right now they'd all be Sybils, but they could get on a call like this and connect with all of us, and quickly they'd get more integrated into the graph.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That clears it up for me. Thank you very much, guys. It's a fantastic presentation.
Okay, so unless there are any more questions, which I'll open it up here for a few seconds. I have a couple of kind of final questions of my own. Adam, you mentioned that this is kind of an open source project, and I know that you have lots of people who dedicate their time to working on it. If you're interested in hooking up with you, and maybe contributing some time to the BrightID project, how would one go about that?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So we have our Telegram, our BrightID Telegram channel that you can come introduce yourself. We have a Keybase team. That's where most of the actual work collaboration discussions go on, and so those are ways to contact us. I'll post a chat. I don't know if you're gonna share the chat anywhere, but I'll post a link in chat that has the link to our working group. But there's a form where you just tell us about yourself and apply to the working group. And yeah, we have, like you said, a bunch of great volunteers. So, but yeah, we're easy to find. So just come talk to us if you're interested. So that's to the working group.
I was just going to say, if you're interested in joining in the discussion, if you go to giveth.io/join, it'll give you a link so you can join our Riot. And in Riot, there is a BrightID channel, and there's also a SocialCoding channel in which all of this information that he was just talking about posting will be in. So once again, that's at giveth.io/join. Any final remarks, Adam, before we move on?
No, thank you for the opportunity to let us show and tell and have some fun with BrightID, and looking forward to see what you guys build on top of it.
Well, alrighty. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming, and thank you very much, Adam, and everyone else that participated in the conversation today. And I guess we will talk to you all soon.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. See you in the next social coding call.
Bye.
Bye.
See you around, guys.
Yeah, bye guys.